Vidyeśvara-saṃhitā, Chapter 1. The Doubt of the Sages. In the sacred and ancient land of Prayāga, where the mighty rivers Gaṅgā and Kālindī, Yamuna, converge, a group of wise and venerable sages gathered for a grand sacrifice. The holy city, renowned for its spiritual power, was said to be a pathway to the divine realm of Brahmaloka. These sages, devoted to truth and righteousness, were not only powerful in their ascetic practices, but also blessed with divine insight. As the sacrificial rites proceeded, news of this great event spread far and wide. Drawn by the auspiciousness of the occasion, Sūta, the esteemed disciple of Vyāsa and a master of the Puranic law, arrived at the holy site. His presence was like a beacon of wisdom, attracting the attention of the assembled sages. The moment Sūta entered their midst, the sages' hearts swelled with joy. They welcomed him with the utmost respect, offering him the traditional hospitality due to a guest of his stature. After the customary rituals were completed, the sages, filled with reverence and humility, approached Sūta with their hands folded in supplication. One of the sages, speaking on behalf of the assembly, addressed Sūta with great admiration. "O Romaharṣaṇa, you who are blessed with the profound knowledge of the Purāṇas by your fortunate association with the great Vyāsa, you have become the custodian of the most wondrous tales and teachings. Just as the ocean is the vast storehouse of priceless gems, so too are you the repository of ancient wisdom encompassing the mysteries of the past, present and future." The sage continued, his voice filled with urgency. "We consider ourselves most fortunate to have you among us. It would be a great disservice to us if you left without imparting some of your wisdom. Although we have studied the auspicious and inauspicious aspects of life, our thirst for knowledge remains unquenched. We long to hear more, especially about a matter that weighs heavily on our hearts." The sages, now deeply concerned, shared their dilemma with Sūta. "O wise one, as the age of Kali unfolds, we see the virtues of humanity eroding before our eyes. People have abandoned their righteous duties and have become ensnared in a web of sin and ignorance. They covet what belongs to others, engage in deceitful practices, and forsake their own families for base desires. They no longer honor their ancestors or the gods, and their hearts are filled with malice and greed." The sages painted a grim picture of the state of the world, describing how the four Varnas, or social orders, had strayed from their duties. The Brahmanas, once the torchbearers of spiritual knowledge, had become corrupt and greedy. The Kshatriyas, protectors of the land, had forsaken their valor and embraced cowardice. The Vaisyas, responsible for trade and agriculture, had turned to deceitful practices, and the Sudras, the laborers, had abandoned their traditional roles, attempting to usurp the duties of higher castes. The sages lamented, "Even women and children have strayed from the path of righteousness. Women disrespect their husbands and engage in immoral behavior, while sons lack filial piety and succumb to various vices. The very fabric of society is unraveling, and we fear for the future of humanity." Their voices trembled with concern as they asked, "O Sūta, how can these deluded souls who have turned away from their virtuous paths find salvation? What remedy exists to cleanse them of their sins and restore righteousness in this dark age of Kali?" Moved by their earnest plea, Sūta closed his eyes and meditated upon the great Lord Shiva, seeking divine guidance. After a moment of deep contemplation, he opened his eyes, ready to impart the wisdom that would illuminate the path forward for these troubled souls.